And we are live.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Community Health Program, getting all your questions answered. I don't know if that's the right one for the start, but it sounds like we have a slight... Actually, I'm going the wrong way here. Hold on a second, folks. Here we go. Let's take two. We're live, and we haven't been live on the air in a few weeks, so I was on the wrong slide. But let's start now.
Hey,
Building your wellness brand within your... What's that?
So we can't let you go on vacation anymore.
Yeah, I wasn't on vacation, but my mind was on vacation. Okay, let's take it from the top. Are we live?
We are live. Hit it.
Thank you. Okay, welcome to another episode of Building Your Wellness Brand Within Your Community. I'm Dr. Alan Weinstein with my co-host, Dr. Randy Ross. Today's episode is brought to you by Epic Consulting, making sure your electronic presence is all it needs to be. And Community Wellness Day, every great opportunity begins with the first step. Take that step with Community Wellness Day, the system, the official marketing program of healthcare practitioners everywhere. And it used to say on here, the VIP app, the only application that allows you to bring your live Hangouts to the iPhone, iPad, desktop, and Android devices. Today we're going to talk about the attention economy. It's not growing, which basically means you have to grab the attention that someone else already has. Dr. Randy, let's turn it over to you.
All right. Well, first of all, let me say hello again to everyone. We've been, I wouldn't say we're on a vacation, although for me part of it was a vacation, but we were in best ofs most of the summer, and we have some great stuff coming for you in the coming weeks and months. So welcome back to everyone. Thank you for being here. And we're starting out with something that is so important and should be on the mind of everyone. And, you know, I think Dr. Allen would probably agree that with all the information that we're inundated with, I mean, how many of you ever go anywhere without this anymore? So you're getting information at such a quick rate. And this is everyone, you know, nobody's unique to this or isolated from it, that the amount of attention that people can pay, you only have a certain amount of hours in a day. And, what are you doing to make sure that you're keeping people's attention? And what are you doing to honestly, and Dr. Allen's really great at explaining this, understanding that kind of a necessary evil today is being comfortable with realizing that you have to kind of capture the attention that other people already have. So there's a couple of elements here. There's, capturing people's attention and keeping the ones you have so that other people don't steal them. And then there's kind of getting the attention of those that are following others. And this is critical. I don't care what your business is. I don't care if you're a healthcare provider, a realtor, you own a bar, a restaurant in town, to kind of be the one that's on the front of everyone's mind and using those product services, you have to make sure that this is something you understand and you embrace, and you take the time to realize that this is an integral part of your business from this point moving forward, and probably growing as time goes on. So, Dr. Allen, give us a little bit of what this means, the attention economy. What does that mean to the average business person?
Okay, well, first of all, realize that something... Oh, I'm getting an echo. I don't know if it's on your end or my end, but now it's better. First, realize that social media, originally, when Facebook came out, Twitter, LinkedIn, all those things, the original idea was to free us from the slavery of the inbox from email. It was going to solve the challenge. The problem is that what social media has created literally is a place where so many people now live that it's nearly impossible to get your message out. And in fact, Facebook themselves will honestly admit that it's nearly impossible for you to reach even your own audience. And now your audience on Facebook and social media, they have the choice of filtering you out. We now know, according to Mike Adams, the health ranger, that Facebook is filtering out posts that they don't like. So they're playing Big Brother with everybody. So if you can get to 2 or 3% of the people that are on your pages in Twitter and in Facebook, it's a lot. And if you promote your posts, you can bring that up maybe to 5.8%. At one time, you may have even gotten high of double figures. And what that basically means is that all of a sudden, competition, a chiropractor, whatever it is, not only are the other doctors in your town your competition, but now if I go on Facebook and I like Oprah Winfrey and I like Starbucks coffee and I like Lindsay Lohan and I like, Justin Bieber, all of a sudden now I'm a fan of all these pages, and as a consequence, what happens is that the news feed that people are in, they're going to see not only posts that I make, but posts by all the other pages they're fans of, which means it's nearly impossible for them to ever see what you have to say. In fact, I'll go as far as to say that the only people that really make money on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and those pages are people that are trying to sell you programs on how to make money on the social networks. That's where the big money is in social media. As a business person, although you need to be there and have presence, it's a very challenging thing to be able to really generate any revenue as a consequence of using social media. But here's the thing. In order for you, because there's so much going on, there's so much content out there, there's so many people vying for the attention, the only way that you're going to get attention from somebody else is really to steal it. So if someone's following, 10, 15, 20 other pages on Facebook and you want them to follow you, you continuously do it. So you must have one, great content. You got to get that content consistently out there, high quality, consistent content to keep their attention, and you must do something dramatic to get their attention. So let's look at the wellness game, because what this is about is, our show is about a community health programs. Let's say there's a bunch of doctors in your town, there's a drugstore, there's Walmart, there's everyone's fighting in the wellness space. There's hospitals in your community doing the same thing. Well, you now want people to know that you are in the wellness game. Well, how are you going to do that? Are you going to be able to compete with Walmart, CVS, hospitals that have huge marketing budgets? Or are you going to have to do something in your community that you could do in a way that is going to all of a sudden direct the community's attention by taking it away from someone else's attention to you? And, of course, doing a community health program is the ideal way to do that. And we've talked about this on the show, and I'm sure Dr. Randy will jump in on that. However, once you get their attention, that's no longer enough. So that if you're doing things like, well, once a month I'll send a newsletter, once in a while I'll do a blog post, I'll post the same junk that everyone else is posting on social media because I'm paying somebody to post on my wall, and they're posting the same stuff on the wall that they're doing for 1,200 other people, you're going to lose the attention, and somebody else is going to steal you away, and no longer are the people that are following you are those people going to continue to follow you, and they will unsubscribe from your newsletters, they will unlike you from Facebook, they'll filter your stuff out, they'll go to someone else's YouTube channel, and now what used to be just a leaky bucket of customers and clients and patients, now it becomes a leaky bucket of leads. So even leads that you have, unless you can grab their attention and keep it, you'll even lose those. So it's now it's a much more challenging way to really have to deal with websites and your community.
Dr. Allen, it's funny when I listen to you. What comes to mind when you were talking about this is kind of this little talk bubble came up in my head and went, what's old is new. And I think no matter how technologically advanced we get, no matter how marketing savvy we all think we are. And like you said, all of these things that we have to do to have a presence, I'll call it a virtual presence, is necessary because this is where people are and this is where they're looking. The challenge is, as you say, to get them to look at you and at your stuff. And Dr. Allen and I won't mention any names, but a perfect example of this is we were looking at someone's post on G Plus who has millions and millions and millions of followers, okay? Very famous G Plus person. And we looked at a comment that they had, and it had, I think, a post that they had, and I think it had one comment and like 5 likes. So what we really looked at when that kind of popped up is, see, even someone who has this amount of followers in today's market has a challenge of getting people to really embrace their content on a regular basis. When I say what's old is new again, to me what's always interesting is that I still feel very strongly that one of the things that you need to be doing is to be embraced by your community. And it's such an effective way to maximize all of your other efforts. And this is what we constantly talk about. You know, when you host a community health program, when you engage all the people of power and influence in your community, so to speak, for lack of a better term, when you're in the media, when people are really viewing you as an expert, as an authority, and they actually embrace you because you're really trying to do something good, all of a sudden your content is more valuable than someone else that does the same thing as you in a community. You're the one, and this is what it keeps coming back to, you're the one that they trust, so you're the one that they're going to, you know, again, take in this information on a more regular basis. And I think this is so important to understand that with all the other things that we do, those things are going to have greater outcomes. You're going to be more effective at everything you do when you're embraced by your community. And, you know, I use the words what's old is new is because, you know, relationship marketing is what I call it, is as old as business, you know. I mean, you go back to anything. This is how people did business a long time ago before we had, you know, any type of advertising. What would they do? They would go and meet with someone. I mean, that's where the concept of door-to-door salesman came from. You know, they went to you with a product. They got you to open the door. They got you to trust that what they had was something of value. And the next thing you know, you were invited into someone's home. You know, there's nothing more trustworthy than that. And again, today it's harder and harder. Like Dr. Allen said, you know, forget about inbox. And even if sometimes there's something you want to read, how many of us have, like, you know, 50, 100 emails and you're like, oh, I'll get back to that. I'll get back to that. Because everything has to get prioritized because, I mean, unless that's what you do, you can't sit and read emails all day. There's too many things to do. You can't sit on social media all day long. You'd never get anything done. So even things that you are interested in have to kind of get prioritized, and you really have to have, as Dr. Allen said, valuable information, not the same recycled, repurposed, you know, boring stuff that, you know, any segment of a profession continues to post. And also the competition is different. You know, independent business owners or small business owners or single practice owners, you know, at one time didn't have the competition of the local hospital or big chain drugstores that are corporations. You have that today. They're in your game, and they obviously have a lot more power and a lot more leverage. So understanding that you really have to think about this if you've never thought about it before. You know, how important it is, and we feel, you know, some of the tools we offer that we're always happy to talk to people about, the combination of hosting a community health program effectively, not figuring this out on your own, and then having the right tools in place to have great follow-up, which is where most people drop the ball, because when you have to create everything on your own, it becomes a little bit overwhelming and complicated. That's why Dr. Allen developed the system. And then the third piece of the puzzle is the VIP app. Every business needs to have an app. I mean, everywhere. Think of it. Everywhere you go. I'm a big tennis fan. I was watching the U.S. Open last night. Guess what? They're going, go here and download our app, and when you're out, you can get updates and get the scores and even watch matches live and this and that. I was in my glory. That was 2 nights ago, because then I happened to be on the beach. I took a day off yesterday, and I'm sitting there watching a match on my phone, while the kids are in the water. So, everybody has to have an app. If you don't have an app, you are so missing the boat. And big kudos to Dr. Allen and his team, because they've figured out a way to create an app that won't cost you $100, $200, $300, $1,000, $1 million. They have it across a platform. This is what you have to do. This is all part of that, grabbing that attention. And I'm going to turn it back to Dr. Allen for a few minutes, because I'm sure there's plenty of holes in what I've said that you want to fill in with your words of wisdom. And I think,
Well,
no, I was just going to say, maybe there's some
Dan, I'm
steps
sorry.
that people need to look at. What are the steps to figuring out why you're not getting the attention, or who, or how do I say this? Who should you be looking at to grab their attention, and how do you go about that?
Well, first of all, let me just say this: that realize right now that the most important thing that you need to be doing and thinking about is no longer how many people are on your email list, because most of those people are not opening your email anyway. Realize this, and this is a challenge for some of the top marketers in the world, and that is, it used to be, even just within it maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, that if one of the big name marketers was doing a launch, they would send out their email and they would have an instantaneously successful product or a launch, because so many people now there are so many people vying for those people's attention that you just get lost. So what at one time was a launch that maybe could generate a few $1,000,000 in no time, now if it generates a couple $100,000 successful launch, as a consequence, the list, there's no longer is money in the list. And if you hear people say money's in the list, they're really they're trying to justify an old model. So the money right now is in the real estate, and it's the real estate of all the devices that people own. Laptop computers, iPads, iPhones, Samsungs, Android devices. You want to own a piece of that real estate, because then when you put your content out, it always gets delivered. Open rates stink, so why does everyone keep looking for figure out a way to get, now people spend, okay, my open rate's 11%. Maybe on this email, if I send out a different subject line, I'll get 12%, 13%. You're fighting for nothing. When you get real estate by giving people your app, they can download it on their iPhone, their iPad, their Androids, their desktop. Now you own that little bit of chunk of land on those devices. Now you can get your message out 100% of the time. So number one, you got to have an app. If you don't have an app, just remember the coffee shop, the supermarket, the bank, the newspaper, everyone has an app but you. If you don't have an app, you're really basically out of business right now. That's number one. Number two, we build them cheaper than anybody else, and in our apps you could do live events, which is what we're doing here. So number one, you still need to do the same things, but realize this, is that if you're going to go out and you're going to get somebody's attention, first try to get the attention of people that you develop relationships with, because then, as Dr. Randy always says, because then you can take advantage of the people that they've already built credibility with. So it's easier for you to grab a hold of that and ride on their shoulders. So the more relationships you have, the more people that you're going to capture. But then it's your job to give those people things of great value so they don't disappear and someone steals them from you. So the same basic things apply. Interact with people on Google+. Look for the people that have the biggest following and comment them, engage with them, share their posts, +1 their posts. Same thing on Facebook. Engage, 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 and then slowly, as more people know you, they'll start to see what you have to say, and then the goal, of course, is to take them to the next level, which is get them to your apps. Our apps have a feature built into them called the share feature. So anything that appears on any of our apps, you hit share, you could share it right on Facebook, you could share it right on Twitter, you could share it with anyone in your contact list. Once you hit the share button, it literally takes them to either the iPhone store or the Google Play store, and literally they could download your app or they could watch your video wherever it is. So you engage them, be consistent. So the same rules apply. The end result is different. The end result is not so much your list. The end result is that you try to get them by giving them something of great value, and then try to get on their devices so you can go to them rather than trying to constantly force them to come to us, to you. Another thing I'm going to say, one more thing I want to say, and then I don't know what was going on there. I saw something on my screen, but and that is just like this hangout, doing an hour hangout. Ask yourself this question: everybody is doing hour hangouts, hour and a half hangouts. Do you have time to watch an hour and a half hangout? Do you have time to sit there? If you get people if you start owning real estate on people's devices and you keep banging them over the head with an hour hangout, an hour and 15-minute hangout, a 2-hour hangout, do you think they're going to be wanting to watch your hangouts every week? No, because no one has time. 20-minute hangout, half-hour hangout max. I'm in favor of the 10-minute hangout. So something to think about.
Yeah, and Dr. Allen, that's a big point that I think a lot of people miss the boat on is, you have to be conscious of that people are splitting their time in so many different directions. So if you can offer value in smaller time segments, you have a lot better chance of capturing those people. When someone can pop into a hangout with us and in 20, 30 minutes, they take a tool back to their business and they use it, or they recognize something that they can be doing better, or they learn something about one of the tools that we use, that's really valuable. I know even myself, and I love hangouts, but if you keep me on a hangout for more, and I'm pretty tolerant, I'll go 40 minutes if it's interesting, but after that, I'm out. I'm either actually totally out of the hangout or I'm doing something else. Statistically, we know you lose people's attention at somewhere between the 12 and 16-minute mark. So if you're going beyond that, there's a good chance that you're not engaging people. And when you, I'll go as far to say, bore people enough, they're going to stop coming back. So you do have to be a little bit entertaining, a little bit engaging. That's why Dr. Allen and I do these together, so you're getting a little bit, of both of us, because just listening to one person gets a little monotonous, and you also lose people's interest. Also, when you're doing things, split it up. You'll see us, we'll use slides sometimes. We'll actually, on some of the other things we do, we might add video or an audio clip or a YouTube clip or something like that. So, mix it up so people aren't just sitting there and watching things. You never want to have just simply you talking or just simply slides. That's why I'm not a big fan of webinars anymore. I think that they're just very, monotone and single-layered, and I don't think that you get the engagement that you need. But really start being aware of what kind of engagement are you having. I know even for myself, I'm not too proud to admit that years ago when we first were on Facebook, we used to get tons of comments and likes and engagements on the business page. Everybody knows everyone's going to like and comment on the pictures of your kids and your babies. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a business perspective. And now we do very, very, very little on Facebook. We're there. We have a presence, but even we don't get the engagement, and we even pay for a lot of the stuff that we do there. We pay for boosts, we pay for ads, and we still don't get that level of engagement that we were looking for, and you have to recognize that too. Where can you get the most engagement? There are still some people, I guess, on Facebook that are doing it. Some people like LinkedIn. That's become, I'm a big G+ person. I found this to be the most effective. So you start to look for the people to engage for your product or service where you think you can be the most effective. And, I know Dr. Allen talks about this all the time when it comes to social media. Kind of pick one, maybe two, if you're, really for some reason want to get some time going. And, and that's all you need. Being everywhere really at some point kind of waters it down. You could link a lot of things, so if you post one place, there is a presence in all places, but it's really hard to get engagement in a lot of places. You have to figure out your product or service where you're going to get the most engagement. And I know Dr. Allen is putting something up there, so I know he wants to share something with us.
One thing that Dr. Randy, a point that she made, this is Guy Kawasaki. He's a very highly followed person on Google+. He has over 6 million people have added them to his circles. So I'd say he's right up there with the biggies, right? He does a share on billionaire facts and figures. Well, you would think that people, well, I want to know about that. Billionaire facts and figures. I mean, everyone wants to be successful. Here it is, 6 million people, 46 people hit the plus, and only 7 people shared it. Now, what does that tell you? If you have less than 6 million people, you're going to have a challenge on your hand to get people to engage with you, share your stuff, and plus your stuff, to say the least. And that's work really hard. You need to start out with really something big. And when I say big, I mean like a community health program to shift the mind of the people that you want to go after. Remember this, that people are creatures of habit. What that simply means is this: they get up in the morning, they get out of the same side of the bed. If they brush their teeth first, they do that. If they go to the bathroom, they do that. If they make coffee, everything they do is the same thing they do at work. They watch the same amount of television when they come home. Everything they do the same. And what happens is when you do everything the same, your future becomes dictated by your past, and the result doesn't change. So if you're still holding on to the old thought process that I'm going to go and collect names and emails and build a big list so when I send my stuff out I get a following, you're going to soon learn that that game has already ended. And realize this, is that although
Dr. Allen, you still
of
there?
course they're creatures of habit. I'm still here. Can you not hear me?
Go ahead, now you're back.
Hello? Yeah, I don't know what happened there. What was the last thing you heard me say?
People are creatures of habit.
Exactly. Yeah, people are creatures of habit, so they will defend email even though it's failing and failing and failing and has one foot in the grave. They'll defend social media, why you need to be, be doing this, this, and that, because their livelihood is dependent on you believing that. They will defend it, even though we're losing it. You have to go to what the new norm that's been created in the last few years, and that is applications. Steve Jobs changed the game when he built the iPhone and the iPad, and everyone's copied that. But it's that those mobile devices have changed the way we work, think, everything we do, and you need to be there. If you're not there, you miss the current norm. Email's the old norm, applications the new norm. That's basically all I have, Dr. Randy.
All right. Well, I think this is really food for thought for anyone that's listening. Just this whole, it's a new terminology, really, the attention economy. And understanding that this is relevant and pertinent to your business, I don't care what you do. And, recognizing that this is something that, no pun intended, needs your attention so that you really start to evaluate, where are you in the scope of, capturing people's attention? What do you need to do to keep those that you have the attention of? And what do you need to do to get the attention of those that might be following others? We've given you a number of different, what we feel are really important business tools. Ways that you can build, your credibility so that, that shrinking attention is directed in your direction. We give you tools to build that in your community. We give you tools to continue that process. And, again, I really want everyone listening to think about that, because I think it's something that we don't really think about. We all look at, how many likes did we get here, or how many pluses did we get? We all think about it in kind of general terms, but I think it's really important that you recognize that the amount of visibility that you're getting on any platform is probably shrinking, with each passing business year. So take a look at that. We're always here to help you to share any information we have. Dr. Allen and I both offer complimentary consultations where, we can look at what are you trying to achieve, take a look at what you're doing, see what works, see what hasn't worked, and see if there's anything that we can do to help you reach your business goals. That's it for me for today. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Allen to close us out.
You've been listening to, I hope my mic is working. Is it working, Dr. Randy?
You're good.
Oh, good, thank you. You've been listening to Building Your Wellness Brand Within Your Community. I'm Dr. Alan Weinstein with my co-host, Dr. Randy Ross. Today's episode was brought to you by Epic Consulting, making sure your electronic presence is all it needs to be. Community Wellness Day. Every great opportunity begins with the first step. Take that step with Community Wellness Day. The System, the official marketing program of healthcare practitioners everywhere. The VIP app, iPhone, iPad, Android, all the devices that you need to bring your live hangouts, just like this one, to those devices so that people could take you on the road. On behalf of myself, Dr. Alan Weinstein, and Dr. Randy Ross, we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.